Hey, true believers. Chris Matt coming at you today with X-Men Adventures #1. This, believe it or not, was an excellent read. The print date on this was November 1992. And this series kind of ran parallel to the cartoon. You know, there was their own interpretation in the book, but it still kept all the beats. And yeah, coming back to this, umpteen years later and being able to reread this, for a comic book that's based off a kid's cartoon, it didn't need to be this awesome in terms of artwork and the way that they wrote it. Because, yeah, let's just jump into it and I will explain. And as you can see, the cover is just stunning. You know what I mean? It looks like something you'd see from a regular run during this time. And before we get into all this, let's talk about who made this book. This is Ralph Macchio, writer, Andrew Wildman, penciler, Robert Campanella, inking, Michael Higgins, letterer, Glynis Oliver was the colorist, Kelly Covers was the editor, Bob Harris, group editor, and Tom DeFalco, Sentinel Supreme. So for the most part, all-star cast working on this. And just like with the cartoon, it was called Night of the Sentinels. But this opens up with the Watcher. And now normally I don't like to try to read through all the dialogue because this, I don't want to read the story. But nonetheless, look at how the writers set this up and kind of set it apart from the cartoon in a sense. And for those that follow the comic books, put it into perspective. He says, I am the Watcher. From the sanctum on the blue area of the moon, I observe alternate realities, divergent universes which appear much as our own, but upon closer observation are different. In one such reality, mutants are a persecuted minority, as on your Earth. Here, Xavier's group of X-Men have formed, searching for peaceful coexistence with their humanity. Their first encounter. Let me reread that because I'm tongue-tied. Here, Xavier's group of X-Men formed, searching for the peaceful coexistence with humanity. Their first encounter with the mutants hunting Sentinels occurs differently than on your world, altering the group dynamics in subtle ways. So I like that they put, Uatu in here, and they kind of show that, yes, there's the cartoon, there's our universe, that these are all alternate realities, just kind of like how we have the movie verse, TV verse, etc., so forth. So I love that. That is a very well planned idea. And so it opens up with Jubilee's parents talk about wanting to add her to the Mutant Registration Act, just like in the cartoon. But what's different is, Jubilee just runs away. But what happens when she does, she says, it's not my fault. Could anything be worse than this? And so I like how we kind of pull out, or should I say track in, movie terms, outside, and we see the Sentinel coming in. And the way that it's just bathed in the shadows to just bring that ominous, malevolent feeling. And then, he's searching for Jubilee, very much kind of the feeling of the Terminator. And then when he says target acquired, smashes into her room. So I don't remember if that happened at the beginning of the cartoon or if it happened later on, but I just like how, we've opened this book and just boom, boom, we are sucked in. We see the stakes of what happens if you are a mutant. But I do have to laugh because even though they start to put the seriousness into this, the Sentinel pulls out the bed and he goes, identification error, non-mutant pillow, and contour of human body covered by blanket. So it's just like, I didn't know that there was a mutant and non-mutant pillows. So we're going to have the X pillows. Anyway, so the one thing that I've always have appreciated about the cartoon and this book is they do give a nod to how Jubilee was introduced in the Claremont years, where she was living in the mall because her parents were dead. She was an orphan. And so she survived by doing her mutant stuff as I think it was like a parlor trick or whatever. And so she was a performer and she got money that way. So I'm kind of glad that they used Jubilee in that sense. Now, we get into what we know about the cartoon where the Sentinel attacks Jubilee. But I mean, just look at the dynamicness of the panels. You see Storm and Remy and I was about to say Marie. Yeah, Marie, Rogue. are shopping. But he's like, that child under attack by some giant. Assume offensive posture. And you just see Storm jump right into that leader role that she's always been accustomed to. Because, other than Cyclops, she's always been the number one to run this team. And think about it. This is supposed to be a comic book that is supposed to help promote the toy line and the cartoon. So you'd think that back in the day in '92 that this would just be a younger audience reading it. The artwork did not need to be this good, nor does the dialogue. Because as we get into it, you see the youngness of how Jubilee talks, where she's like, okay, you want to play rough, Stumbo? Remember, I've got enough stuff in one hand to make you to silly putty. I hope he doesn't see my knees knocking. So you see the youngness of her. And then Cyclops, out of the blue. Not bad. You took that child down without breaking an oil sweat. Now let's see how you go against me. Now watch what happens with Psych. Because, again, this would be something you would see in the normal X books. X-Men, Uncanny, X-Force, X-Factor, etc., so forth. Look at the dynamicness of this Dutch angle here. And, he's saying, back off. It did not need to be this good. But the people cared, and that's why it's good. They didn't have to, people I'm sure that worked on this really do enjoy the X-Men, and we got a really great book. Now again, remember, as I just said, this was a comic that was supposed to introduce the cartoon and the toy line. And of course here we get Morph, who, is kind of the what do you call it? He likes to poke and prod at everyone, so he's kind of like the troll of the team. And here's Beast, they're all in the danger room. And he goes, Morph, why the unwanted interference in my daily exercise regimen? Because I just want you to see you're not the only lady killing Beast here, McCoy. And then you see him transform into Beast and he hits a pillar. And Beast says, utilizing your changing powers to become a pallid imitation of yours truly. Does not the bashful bouncing Beast make? As I've note, you've unceremoniously ascertained. Allow me to spare you the indignity of a singular splat on the unyielding floor below, boyo. Again, they didn't need to make Beast sound this intellectual. They could have just made it, haha, funny, brr, 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 brr. Now with that said, I will say this. The people in this book tried because they cared. And that's why, as we've seen so far, we've gotten an excellent product. Now, if we go forward to a couple years back and we read that X-Men '92, they were trying to cash in on the nostalgia. But if you read the book, I read a couple of them. Oh my God, it's painful to read because there's a lot of that LOL so random. And it doesn't go back to having the heart like this. And honestly, I feel like a lot of modern books are not selling as well because they're not challenging the reader to read, and they're not seeming to care. It's more like they want to push product instead of caring about making an excellent book. And that's what this is. And in this quick issue, we get the idea of how the X-Men work together. So there's a call for for everyone to go to the war room, and Gambit's just like, we've been summoned. Indubitably. Nothing gets by you, Gambit. So we kind of see that even though they're teammates, they have to break each other's you-know-whats. That's awesome. And then, again, we see, yes, you're going to probably think, oh my God, there's a lot of talking. But again, who's writing this? I totally forgot. Hold on a second. That happens. Burp, 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 burp. So Ralph Macchio is writing this. In a way, even though this feels wordy, it's very much Chris Claremont-esque. So it's going somewhere. It's setting things up. And this is where Xavier talks about how he wants all the files on the Mutant Registration Act deleted. And Cyclops is hesitant about it because he's like, we're breaking into a federal facility. And you see that look on Logan's face. Maybe you don't hear so well, bub. 12 of your own, meaning mutants, disappeared in 48 hours. This ain't no credit card agency selling info on us. It's the feds. Now maybe you need some gentle persuading to see what's right. If so, retract those claws, Logan. And then here he's like, tough talk, psych. But we're going to do this whether you're leading the troops or here wringing your hands, pansy style. Whew. And again, while you're getting all this great dialogue, your eyes are just getting this eye candy. I mean, it doesn't even feel like you're reading just a comic book, again, that's supposed to promote a TV show. You feel like you are reading like almost daggum close to like a Jim Lee level artwork, because this is the look of the time of them in the 90s. And again, the use of the powers. I love how they set up the paneling here to show that Morph has the idea of what the security guard looks like. They use a paneling here with a little bit of zzz to show how he's transforming. That is awesome. Now, I want to jump over this stuff because instead of, for those of, majority of people that are comic book lovers or pop culture fans have watched X-Men the Animated Series. If not, it's on Disney+. But anyway, Morph, something tragically happens to him. But instead of just coming out and doing it like in the cartoon, he's just like, everybody's fading out. I can't see them anymore. What's going on? And we see this small panel saying, Morph, come to me. Come to me. And he's like, that hand coming through the door. And boom, look at that. For a book that's supposed to promote a kid's cartoon and action figures. I'm so glad that this was part of my generation, because we don't get this level of quality anymore, or this depth of like dialogue and plot. A lot of stuff that you watch that is based around younger audiences, they don't challenge them like the shows that we had. X-Men the Animated Series, Batman the Animated Series. Those books took adult themes, broke it down enough for kids, but made it enough for older fans to watch as well. That's why you really get a lot of these newer books, newer shows, and you just don't feel challenged. This was excellent. You'd think X-Men Adventures, give me a break, but nah. Yum. Good book. Thank you. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Isaac. Thank you, man, for hooking me up with this, by the way. And if you guys have enjoyed this comic book, which I highly recommend picking up, please first and foremost check with your local comic shop to see if you can grab a copy. And if you have enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. It helps this club channel more than you can possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little X bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. You can come to the channel, and we'd love to hear your feedback and talk with y'all down in the comments below, or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description below. So with all that said, I hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.